Anybody been surrounded by chaos recently? You're not unique. But if you watch my channel and channels like mine, you may not know that you're an empath, a super empath. If you're really powerful, you're a dark empath. And you might not know it. You wonder why you feel so constricted, and every bit of disseminating energy around you these days from people who are completely out of touch with the fact that they have any kind of energy at all beyond their own wants and desires and needs, their own comforts. It's crazy. It's getting crazy. If you're an empath, you feel overwhelmed. And if you're a super empath, then hopefully you have some clue as to what's going on. I didn't at all. What a week. Masculine toxicity. Toxic masculinity, I think, is the more appropriate term. And that can be in women as well. It can be in institutions. It can be in schools of thought. It can be in religions. It can be in business plans. It can be in blueprints and schematics. And people don't even know that they're engaged in it. So I hope that you all are surviving. Hi, Max Maximus. Hi, Certified Ripper. I'm in the midst of just a maelstrom. I wondered if the naming of my last video was a little too harsh. No, not at all. No, I live with killers. And I was reminded of that all week. Vis-a-vis prison parroting. You just listen to people who've done, quarter centuries or decades, and just give them something to bite on, just some bit of gossip or something imagined, some slight, some insult that tests one's masculinity. And I feel like I'm in the middle of a county jail pod. Hopefully none of you have been there. A few of you have. And it's just a cacophony of nonsense. Nobody shuts up. The push-up contest to see who can do more push-ups. In another corner, there's a card game. In another corner, there's people relating their innocence to each other. It's just like being in a cage with a bunch of parrots that spent years in prison, and they talk just like it. It's incredible. I'd rather be around parrots. Some of them would sing, some of them would banter poetry, some would just bop their heads and imitate the sounds of cookery or crockery or the door opening or shutting, but no. I've taken notes. I mean, we're dealing with the Western Judeo-Christian world committing crimes that are on par with the worst crimes, humanitarily speaking. We'll just start with that. In recorded history, we're dealing with a systematic, mechanized killing machine now. It's being perfected by the big tech companies as we speak. I mean, Lucy Williams from the BBC is quoted over the last couple of days. It hasn't even been a week. I think it was yesterday, as saying that Israel is now destroying Lebanon using Gaza as a blueprint, using Gaza as a model, a blueprint of destruction to finally attain peace. And I've realized over the last week that that sort of bully mentality is really, it encapsulates the world these days. Post 2020, there are no rules for bullies anymore. Bullies can just bully their way through anything. And as empaths, I didn't realize that I would assume I'm not alone in this, that as an empath, I can't blame this on the human resonance anymore. Or the metal trees, we all know what I'm talking about, or technology. Humanity itself is becoming more savage on a personal, day-to-day level. And I'm not talking about necessarily my situation being in a men's group home for not much longer. I mean, I get my car fixed this week. Or it's already fixed. It's sitting waiting for me. Or I just got to pay for it. I worked 70 hours last week. I'm so sore I can barely move. I'm wise enough to be sitting down on the couch now, sitting on something. Folks, I'm beat down. Well, I work with steel. I helped move 42-foot long pipe off a barge off the Ohio River this week. It's exciting, but I'm sore. I can't hardly move. And yet, imagine me, an empath, around certain people that are not empaths. And this is just situational. What are a lot of us empaths dealing with right now? People who don't like us to smile, talk, laugh, come up with a good idea, not come up with a good idea, come up with a good idea, and be smart enough to act like you didn't come up with that good idea, suggest to somebody else the good idea that turns out being definitely your idea, but you don't even need the credit for it. So you can have the idea and the credit for it. You can have both of them. You can have the end result, so all three of them at once, because there was a good idea. Somebody took action. I just made a few suggestions, and the action put forth work. And there's a desired result here. Nope, I don't need any credit. Then the person gets mad. There's that kind of an attack right now on empaths. And I don't know how many of you saw it coming. I'm always on guard, but I didn't realize how much of an effect it's having on the world right now. And it pertains to my notes. Toxic masculinity. I was sore for 44 years, brother. Max. Well, you were trained for the steel. I wasn't. The International Courts of Justice right now. What a joke. The UN. I mean, what are lobbyists? The hell are, what's this? Who runs Washington? Who runs the United States of America? Tell you what, it's Zionist lobbyists. 70% of Congress and the Senate. I can't believe I'm even speaking like this. I'm obviously, I mean, today was my 14th day home, and I didn't have to work today because the boss likes me so much that he asks me to work with him on Sundays. And I got punished for that by non-empaths. It's incredible. And what can we do as empaths? I'll talk about that intermittently throughout the video. What do you put your guard up? Do you read somebody's mind, which you and I can? Do you tell them how they probably need some kind of recovery or therapy, or that you're not? People are finding a perfect target in the empath, in an empath, in you empath these days. I've been used to that my whole life, mind you, but it's reaching epic proportions right now. It really is. Hi, Countless. Sorry, I gotta move my got my phone in a little cup inside of a little blankie. No, we're becoming useful targets for people's rage and their discomfort. If you're an empath, you're becoming semi-telepathic. I was speaking to someone that I met brand new today, just a big citywide meeting of all these different houses that take people in and stuff, and just the discussion of the fact that a lot of times these days people are uncomfortable if you have a higher sense. It's hard to say it. People wonder if you can have X-ray vision. And people also feel comfortable. All right, here it is. Empaths are easy to read. So vulnerable. Because we're honest. We have no reason to lie about much of anything these days. I mean, there's certain things that you just don't run around telling everybody, but we always got an extra pack of smokes. Empaths aren't stupid. We don't plan ahead, but we just don't want to run out of nothing on the journey. Empaths don't run out of gas. We just don't. We charge our phones to 100%. We're OCD quite often. Empaths are easy to read. You know an empath's going to give you $1 or give you something, give you a smoke, loan you $10, listen to your problems, help calm the situation, whatever the case may be. Then you can turn around and you can burn an empath who just gave you something to eat, the last soda pop out of their backpack. You know, you could really hurt an empath's heart. And I realized I had to come to the conclusion, I had to come to some kind of a conclusion that if I'm not the problem, there's no solution. That you can't be nice to people with no empathy, because that makes them mad. You give them something, they act like they forget, but they don't forget. They're just being bullied. Bullying is now on the rise, but it's more of an emotional kind of bullying. Because people know that there are cameras everywhere. Or else you bet that it would still be like it was when I was a kid, 40, 50 years ago, like many of you. That's my demographic is, people, we're Generation Xers. Now people have to think about that. Empaths live in a semi-quasi state of constant fear. I do. This week in the prison parroting conference that they had upstairs, 3 or 4 grown men all sitting around, I mean, that's savage. And why? Because I worked last Sunday. And I'm safe. Bully somebody who's not going to bully back. We're easy to read. We're vulnerable just in our honesty. We're the biggest hard ass in the world, but if you're honest, then you're vulnerable in a way. We're easy targets. And it's becoming increasingly difficult, really, to have a psychic guard up, a barrier, when you're used to being super honest. Empaths don't fight. We don't fight back. We're not vindictive. We seek no vengeance. Most people do. Bro, it's 4 a.m. here in Israel. Well, Lily, it's part of why I wanted to go live tonight, because I think that some people could use the encouragement. I wasn't perfect. But I know about what a service person, just an anonymous person, told somebody. I heard it today on TikTok. I didn't write the name. I did write some names and dates down and some stuff tonight, but just, some soldier somewhere said the thing to do now is to watch the skies and the waters. When you learn about what knowledge is available to us now, for whatever reasons, then we do have a tremendous capacity to change. And I certainly have. And when you glow, a lot of people are going to not necessarily hate it, but they're not going to handle that very delicate thing called you and me and our consciousness and our awareness. And yes, that has to do with feelings and everything else. What they don't understand in their inability to handle something so precious, so priceless, is that we're only going to become more refined and learn how to not respond, because we're not going to give lesser-minded people what they want, which is for us to get knocked off our guard. And we do get knocked flat on our asses. Anthony Spaulding. So I'm not cussing algorithm. Ooh, I hate the algorithm. Talk about bully. I'm kidding. You know, emotionally we can get crushed. It's hard being around mean people. And yet if it shows you something about how you can focus through any gauntlet, and that you ain't around right now necessarily to win any popularity contests. You answer to one creator or whatever spiritually to get your groove on, and they can't get you off your mark. And karma right now for the bullies out there is something, and it hits them upside their head, and you and I are patiently praying that they're okay. Well, these are the same people who will stab you in your back, but then in front of you be like, you okay? You all right? They want to see you flip your lid or tell them how you really feel, or be depressed, or be crushed, or be passive aggressive and not say anything at all, because then they can say, oh, now you disrespected me. No, you just look through them. I'm fine. And the next time they're hungry and need a munchie and it's 9 o'clock in the morning, they look at you and they think twice. And then what do? They grumble and they stomp around the gravel. And you just look through them. And those instances are happening more and more now. I'm not going to talk about the other people. I'm not going to talk about any individuals. I'm going to talk about what it is that the empath exudes, what the empath is transmitting, what the empath, why the empath is so easy to read, which makes us perfect targets for angry people who do their best to not be read, which is interesting. The see-through nature of the empath, the fact that we're transparent, it's infuriating to some people because they do not know how to understand someone who doesn't have up their guard, because there's nothing to guard against. A person who literally shines from within to the without, to the observer, literally with your Celestine prophecy colors, with an aura, with a vibration that can only come from someone who's constantly honest and has nothing to hide. Feels very comfortable in their femininity or their masculinity. Doesn't need anything external, maybe except for a good book or some meditation. I'm not sure. I mean, don't get me wrong. We like our creature comforts and our blankies and, clean clothes. And I'm not saying that there's anything tremendously, shall we say, pious about empaths. It's just that most steps that we take, we're considering. Let me clean up after that so it doesn't bug somebody else. Let me not say that because I can keep that to myself. Let me, let me refrain from, giving to everybody, but I'll certainly keep a bottle of, a pack of waters in the back of my car for people on the street to give them to. Let me not use my superpower of making things worse, either for myself or other people, because we all have that superpower. These days, while everybody's in a rush, everybody's robbing Peter to pay Paul, $1 short and a day late, and needing someone to blame it on. We do. We get totally beat up. Hi, Fisher. Hi, Spirit Wolf. Hi, JB. Yeah, sorry I haven't said anybody's names. Travel fan, yes or no? Oh, travel fan. We can alleviate the need for fan of either travel or the lack thereof, because I'm Poe. Poe people don't travel. We go to the stove, work, school, then we go to the bus stop. What's travel? Hell yeah, travel. Downtown on the bus. I got a day pass though. Now, usually, empaths don't get harassed by strangers, but they do look at you a lot, though, because there's just something that glows. I'm telling you, we wear our emotions on our sleeves. Short, easy for assholes to pick. Yeah, we get beat up. Well, I'm going to say a prayer against that. That we can apply our wit. I mean, I felt so forlorn all week. I started singing, Journey earlier. We know that things love you, go our separate ways. And I was sitting here for an hour ago. I'm sitting here drinking my Monster all alone. Like, it's too late to go live. Then I started studying further. I've been studying all day about what's happening in the Middle East right now. And I started singing Journey, and I was like, no. Love will stand you, then go our separate way. I'm Earth, Wind, and Fire, Michael Jackson off the wall, but Journey, they're good. Some heartbreak shit right there. No, man, I miss my family. I miss the world before 2020. I do. I wish we could go back before cell phones. I really do. I wish you could go back to 1990. I don't care. I'd even take that Will Smith song, summertime. So I would go back, boy. Woo. That was the baddest part of that song. He ain't the rappingest man in the world, but he, the 90s, boy. Oh, the world is spinning much too fast, and I want to slow it down and make it last. I know you feel the same way too, but before we're through, there's a lot of things we gotta do, 'cause we're falling through the thin ice. And empaths, we're just gonna have to do, because we can't fake being hard. People are going to take, once we've had enough, and we're just quiet, and we offer the bare minimum. Yes, okay. I know you told me that 1,000 times today, but because they still need to make some kind of a connection to let you know. But they'll take your silence as being passive aggressive, which is what they do all day until they need to, again, engage with you, see if they can tap into the nectar of your spirit, which they can't understand. They can't figure you out. They haven't gotten a rise out of you. Mind you, watch out for flying projectiles and stuff around these kind of people. They will throw something not at you. Wait, where's Darth? Girlfriend just went home after spending the weekend at my place. Good times. She makes me feel so lucky. Well, Darth, I do need to say this. Aside from the name that you have such an interesting, perplexing name, Darth Trudeau, it just brings to mind so many delicious combinations and concoctions. That being said, a lot of us have followed your little heated run-ons, my friend, and we're genuinely happy for you. Instead of the kind of energy that I'm talking about right now, because it's not the people. There is an energy of toxic masculinity emotional bullying, passive aggressive mixed in with a lot of shit talking, and it's rampant through society. It is. Now, if you have an opportunity to get with one or two, if you're lucky, 3 or 4 divine people in your life, stay in touch with them. Make them your senseis, or your teacher, or your master, or your sponsor. Find a few of them. And run things past them. So keep your distance from the people out there. I'm sure if you're in an office, you're okay because all they can do is make a paper airplane and fly it over your cubicle and hope to poke you in the eye. But just watch your back and just apply the superpower of shutting up and read the room. I'm just quite startled because I do think that it's open season on empaths, and people don't know it. The people who are doing the attacking on the empaths aren't empaths, or maybe they are, but they're Sith. They lack any real wisdom or knowledge of empathy. Their tremendous outcry for empathy, they need it so bad, and yet they go about it the direct wrong way. How do you beat someone into being empathic or sharing or loaning you a couple of dollars? It's my mother called it domestic terrorism, and people just don't know. I think it's something in the water. I think it's in the airwaves. I am going to blame it on, the particle colliders. I think that there's a bridge. I've been saying it for a while now. I've sensed it, especially for about 2 years, that the veil is thinning in the spiritual world. I took an hour of notes. I've studied all day, but I really had to deliberate. Is the coast clear? Do I have some space that I can carve out for myself tonight and talk, kind of share with people, catch up? I could barely walk this morning trying to get out of bed. And I realized that part of a maintenance plan for people is to not be afraid to go to the chiropractor or get help and go to the dentist. Reach out for help. I guess that's part of growing older. But there's some young people that watch too. You know what I'm talking about. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor production. I think that's how the saying goes. No, I'm whooped, and I've been spiritually put through the ringer. Let me see, insulted, talked about, cursed at, called everything under the moon. Called everything but the kitchen sink. I got to find another ride to work because I'm not part of the, we all drive to work together club. It's incredible. All because I went to work on a Sunday with the boss. So that leads me to have to navigate a whole different landscape. Because I've seen this my whole life happening to me. I've just never recognized exactly what it is. And I've leapt headfirst into the milieu, or said something, or had to defend myself, or had to do something, or make sure that somebody recognized it. Now, no. I realize it's the convergence negative. It's an energy field that again is a unique byproduct of being a person who's going to start waking up acutely to what's happening right now on our planet. And I've never really said anything like this before. I want to start the School of the Empath and the Nibi Ranch, I call it. I do actually want to start a legitimate institution called the School of the Empath. I really do. But I've never considered us to be saviors of any type. You certainly won't ever hear me toot no horn like that, or a chauffeur, or a party favor, or anything. I'm just on the grind like everybody else is. However, I do keep my sword sharp, and I have a little costume. I wear the underwear outside of my blue jeans, just like Batman and Superman did. I don't know why. Captain America. You know, and when I think about how small and how teeny my effect or affect can be on this world, you take your pick. I realize that it's exactly that kind of thinking that makes you all and makes me as individuals and as a team and as a family of Skywatchers, empath. That I realize we're more empaths than anything. Not all of you get out and take the sky every chance you get. Our Skies Today just put out a video today, this morning. Our friend from Michigan, where they nuke the skies almost as hard as they do here in Cincinnati, and the skies are incredible. Michigan, yeah, Saskatchewan and Saskatchewan, way up there by the right. Mike Rowe had some great posts lately. He's got a YouTube channel, Bring Back the Trades, Robots Can Fix. I've heard about that. Blue collar workers are actually beginning to rise again in demand, because the infrastructure is cracking. So they're going to try to make us blue collar people feel good for a minute, but that's later on in my notes. Let me read some of the comments just to familiarize myself with some people who can actually empathize, much less articulate verbally or use sentences without explanatives every other word. If I see another teardrop tattoo, I'm gonna cry. I just people are just vicious. Refugees in their own heart and in their own mind. Because I was one myself. I was a lurid, lowly, just sad, lonely man. Just wah. Big crybaby, loudmouth, wah. Couldn't have my way. And started working out a whole lot and having a huge, big old swollen ass head. There's something to say for seeing the dark side of empathy as well. Realizing that you can say you're empathic and that you're compassionate, but if you don't walk that walk, then you're just talking the talk. But once your empathy does get a tight grip on your ass, you change. And there's nothing that'll make you change more than looking up and seeing exactly what that young anonymous soldier told somebody on a huge TikTok channel, which is watch the sky and watch the waters. That'll shake a person, shake them up brand new. Yeah, somebody like me, sure. We need big, burly Gen X and Boomer men. They're running the world now anyway because they're not afraid to sweat. Yeah. Oh, I love New York Debs. I call her. She's part of my team. I mean, empaths, we go around getting picked on all day by people. They can't help it. What they don't consider is that empaths are the first people to call, and regularly get a checkup on their own ego, their own pride, their own desires and motives. What motivates you? If you're a Skywatcher, if you're a frontliner, I know what motivates you much more than other stuff does. It's the truth. And we hunger for it day and night. So we're not so easily distracted. And not just by the media or by circumstances or the environment we're in. We're not distracted by our own futile thoughts, and everybody has them. Everybody could just go bobblehead and chase butterflies all day, or be delusional, or sleep all day, or just watch Netflix. But if you're anything like me, you you have your downtime, don't get me wrong, but your focus and your motive is something, that is more of a passion than it is necessarily how you spend your time of the day. And I'll finish this part of the video. I've spoken about it enough. I just have never realized the importance of the school of the empath as much as I have today, after reflecting on this week. The first day I've had off in 2 weeks, and I reflected on how, again, if I'm not the problem, there's no solution. The problem isn't anything else around me. It's me, because I'm an empath. A changed one at that, in reference to being broken and ego being broken down and being refined and sharpened, and having a place to put it in my mind, because it's about the NEMESIS NIBIRU change in the world. It's about the system of the down. It's about the whore of Babylon beginning to crumble around everybody's heads, and we can't see it. That kind of an awareness, it's bound to draw the best out of us now. At this point in time, 2026, it's going to start really to bring the best out of us. So, of course, there's going to be slight opposition. Hard to please. There's plenty of space in your mind. Hi, IDK. I don't know. Can my friend triple? I asked some questions. Yeah, you can triple all you want. Sure. Triple, double, quadruple. Knock yourself out. So let me start at the beginning of my notes. Because I think that exactly what is happening in the Middle East now, in many ways, reflects the energy rolling across the world, which I believe is demonic. I do believe that the particle colliders, all of them, there's thousands, tens of thousands of them. I believe that our reality and the veil that protects it, the membrane of the space-time continuum, is being affected in some way. I can feel sometimes the waves through the space-time continuum. It's a strange, strange sensation. Can you get a mod? Fairy, bro? You stick with me for a while. Let a few of us vet you, and I will consider it, because, you see, I'm one of them channels where I'll get infiltrated. I mean, when was it? About 3 years ago. Somebody got on, talk about blowing my ego up like a balloon. And I make fun of it. I totally exaggerate in my sense of the comic and theatrical, but it was like, there was like 40 extra people in the chat one night. It was like 60 people. So I went nuts. This is back when I, still wanted, I'm like, wow, that's a lot. I'm hot shit tonight. Somebody got on there, ooh, I will fly you to Europe. So this is where I exaggerate, some supermodel. My name is Supermodel, and my twin and I own a resort in the Alps somewhere. We will fly you over, and then you get a helicopter from the fancy sushi restaurant, and we fly you. I'm like, okay. I'm modding everybody in that chat room that night. Next thing you know, the whole chat, everybody was getting timed out for, I think, 8,000 minutes. Yeah, it was some trolls. They had slipped in, buttered me up. Another person came, and they looked like one of you guys, but it wasn't. It was somebody's name spelled with a little difference, like an I, not above, a dot above one of the I's. They whacked the whole channel, and somebody confessed, yeah, it's a group of us trolls. There's like 40-something of us. They all unsubscribed. So I just can't. I can't just mob people out. And it really is, it's a bummer. 2 weekends ago, somebody got on here and deleted 90 of, well, all my videos, all of them, except for, I think, shorts. I think YouTube had a default mode where they couldn't delete anything after anything up till 6 months ago. But whoever this was got in and wiped me out. It was the convergence negative. I felt like I did when I was a little abused kid. I felt hopeless. I felt victimized. I felt abused. And then I remembered an old skywatcher from 10 years ago, Prep Aussie from Australia, from Perth, Australia. He told me, Seven, mate, nobody cares about yesterday's videos, right? And I realized, hold on, the best is yet to come. I'm about to get my car back. It needed a new manifold. Get a life, buddy. Okay, Mark Galway. Mark Galway. Okay, Galway. I don't mind trolls. Trolls, you can't troll me. We're just going to be coming into contact with people who, even though we're older, most of us, you know, I think my demographic is 40s up to 60s and 70s. You know, we've carved our way through this maelstrom of people's emotions and the different races and religions. We've walked streets, we've been in cities, we've been in the country, we've hiked, we've raised kids. We're grown folks. You know, we're used to confrontation and conflict to a degree. But what's happening now is exactly what I would expect, and I've been expecting. Once you start messing with space and time, is the little introduction, the little entrance of evil really beginning to embody itself in this world. And how do I say that? Well, because, and we'll get into my notes. Because if you've got the governments of the entire Judeo-Christian Western world unleashing what is essentially genocide, and or the complete transformation of an entire region of the world, involving multiple different countries, involving a myriad of different religious groups, socioeconomic groups, and dividing them at this precise time in history to the point of 6 million people right now homeless in Iraq, 2 million displaced in Gaza, 1 million people displaced in Lebanon. Lebanon, which has the highest number, by the way, of refugees in the world. 1/5 of the population. So 1 million people in Lebanon, 2 million people displaced in Gaza, and 3 million people, as of now, in a couple of weeks, displaced in Iran. The UN can't do anything about it. The international gridlock of their justification of barbarism, savagery abroad, being done literally on the railroad tracks of ethnocentricity, gone amok here in 2026, and being perpetrated by the most insane leaders of all time now, transitioning into smart mechanized weaponry that is unleashing barbarism now on a path of destruction. Talk about parroting. Who's the news lady? Lucy Williamson on the BBC over the last couple of days said it, that Israel is out to destroy Lebanon and is using Gaza as a model, a blueprint of destruction to lead to peace. You don't give a shit. That's what I was talking to you. Enjoy the show. Yeah, hi, suspicious. No, nobody needs to get flustered here. If you don't like what I'm talking about, and we try to be as respectful and polite to people. Hi, Kyle Tom. Just checking in to hear a good soul over there. Dad talking up the evening over here with me. Might have to go, but there's always value. Definitely got to check in and say hi. You love your hair. Yeah, there were some nasty comments. Yeah, it's okay. They really rub off. Savagery. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. It's just the almost sublime encroachment on every level of society now, including the family, of this savagery. And people call preppers fools and crazy. And it doesn't get much more savage than seeing in advance what may come to be. And after we read some of my notes, we'll see where, this could be going in, well, I mean, it's always ongoing. We live in a world where for 30 years now, they've been tooting the horn of solar energy, wind energy, thermal, electrical energy, and yet our energy prices keep going up. Why? Because of the data centers. So there's this constant sense of unease, a disturbance, in the finances of the world. I mean, since when was the Strait of Hormuz such a big deal? I'll be honest, it's the first I've ever heard of it. What, like 2% or 5% of the world's oil goes through the Strait of Hormuz? With how important of a role is it's playing right now in the news, and again, I don't trust shit that comes out of it. Comes off the news. Why all of a sudden is the Strait of Hormuz such a big deal? Because another thing that I considered whilst taking these notes is that wherever the lights are shining, wherever the cameras are all pointed, look in the exact opposite direction. And when you look generally in the exact opposite direction on a map or the globe or whatever you want to call it, to a degree, and I'm speaking generally because I don't have a globe and I didn't do that kind of homework earlier. I've been sleeping all day trying to rest. But if you flip it all around, it gives you America. I'm speaking generally, or the Americas. You got the most heavily sprayed skies in the world now with whatever they're trying to hide, and giants being dug up all over the world, and a whole lot of really interesting phenomena that are happening these days. And so they're covering it, they're spraying it, they're modulating it, but everybody's focused on the Middle East. And I'm not saying that the Middle East isn't to be taken into consideration. I'm just saying that something seems to be off. Egypt, as we speak, is maintaining curfews now at night. Businesses have to shut down at 9. Egypt, they got oil too. What other parts of the world right now are dealing with shutdowns of energy? Oh, Asia. Okay. So back to the Straits of Hormuz. But then you had a big blackout in California, I believe yesterday or the day before. Okay. We're being warned against blackouts rolling blackouts and brownouts. So now you need to bring the color wheel into it. All right. But back to the Straits of Hormuz. Just follow me as a dark, only a dark elf, dark mind could. Because this is labyrinthine, y'all. There's nothing wrong with dark, by the way. It just means mysterious, cloaked in coolness, possibly carrying some cutlery so that we can cook. It's not a conspiracy, it's truth. Go to weathermodification.com and click on cloud seeding. Yeah, I believe in the chemtrail conspiracy. Oh, are you trolling? Are you trolling? No, you're not. You're not trolling. No. Hi, Arrow. Arrow. I mean, if you're trolling, it's okay because I'm not going to attack you. I was just seeing if we're playing a game because I eat trolls. Wait, hold on. It's not a conspiracy, and if you want to call it a conspiracy, you can go back to kindergarten. I don't care. It's no skin off of my derriere. You know, my initials are ASS, Anthony Asevenspaulding, so I can use that fluently in my very fluid humor. You know, anybody who calls it a conspiracy needs to go to kindergarten. That I won't say anything nasty or pejorative, X-rated. I won't insult. I'll just encourage you to go to kind of, go somewhere where there's just coloring books. Some of them have pop-up pictures, scratch and sniff. There's just all kinds of really easy stuff. How much do you know about how planes work? Extra weight required to carry chemtrails. Well, I can tell you just about some of the difference with ice crystals formed from the water vapor, which is heavier than the jet fuel, actually, of contrails versus chemtrails, just generally speaking. But I don't need to give you a science class right now. You're just entertaining me by being here, and the fact that you can still say chemtrail conspiracy in the same sentence leads me to just want to leave you alone and ignore you. As if I need to take notes on it for 2 weeks. I've been doing it for 10 years, and there are congressional hearings about it right now. There's people getting up at town halls who are PhDs and ear, nose, and throat surgeons and brain surgeons who are doing the research. If you haven't been able to find that, then I'm ignoring your honest stupidity. I'm not ignoring your question. I consider them to be from someone with a very dense lower reptilian area and a pretty pathetic IQ. That's all. So I'm about to get rid of you because you're just ignore an honest question. You need to go back to trolling. Are you saying airlines are purposefully injecting chemicals? My friend, all I would need to do is you on a petri dish, and beyond the shadow of a doubt could prove that they're doing plenty of damage to average citizens and ones like you who seem to be tremendously susceptible, not just to what they're spraying, but to my particular taste in trolls. You're going right along with the program, and I didn't even script this or write it. You're filling in all the humor. I mean, are you in kindergarten? No, Marlo, I know. Please, nobody get rid of this person. I'm trying to water down. I'm trying to moderate and mediate my excitement and humor at what you might even be, an algorithm, a bot. I mean, a complete dumbass. No, I'm not asking if engine exhaust can be bad. Well, engine exhaust. You go ahead and you research what happens to ice crystals. At high altitude. Here, I'll explain it to you. you need some help in trolling me. More than happy to comply. I can acquiesce to your request so that you can at least have something to try to work with. Okay, we'll play patty cake with the troll because I'm good at that. We can be friends. No, it's fine. Arrow, it's totally fine. At cruising altitude of about 30,000 feet, a contrail, when it is expelled from the back of a jet, the water vapor is heavier than the jet fuel. The jet fuel evaporates relatively quickly. Again, this is just a general summation, my friend. The water vapor, yes, it does freeze relatively quickly, and it lasts for about 30 to 60 seconds. The jet fuel, of course, just completely evaporated and dispersed almost immediately upon making contact, being ejected out. The water vapor, however, is denser, heavier, and about 30 seconds, 60 seconds at most. The other kind of trails maintain their shape, their entire path of travel for hours. Hours. I will, by the way, go ahead and say that I understand that a lot of people, there's this big argument around what shape the earth is. All I know is that in the hills of Cincinnati, I watched a chemtrail jet fly due east to west a couple days ago after work, and I was on a bus. So I was on that bus for a good 40 minutes, and that plane was traveling that high up and for that long, and it definitely curved. Every couple of, I'd say 25 miles, it dipped a little bit, and it dipped a little bit. I'm becoming less and less susceptible to all of the different ideas. I don't need to say conspiracies because Wernher von Braun on his tombstone had this Psalms 19, Psalms 19, talking about the firmament showing the hand of God. We're not being told everything about many a thing, but I've been watching this guy for 10 years, and here in Mount Healthy, Cincinnati, Ohio, just like in many other parts of the city, it's up on a big flat plateau, and you can get some height. And back to the other kind of trails, many of them are in spirals. Whatever's going is a two-component thing that's being ejected. One is little equally spaced, equally shaped puffs spiraling around one continuous trail. Shall I continue? 10 years ago, it used to be one big old Boeing or other kind of, huge aircraft. There'd be maybe a dozen in a day. Now there are hundreds, sometimes in tens of minutes. And many of them, you no longer see the fuselage and wings of an airplane. You don't hear the telltale, wow, it sounds like a jet, and you look up and you see one because the sound has reached you before you could look up and see the jet a quarter of the way across the sky. Any more than dogs bark when sirens go by anymore, and dogs used to bark when sirens went by. But there will be hundreds of paths of these applications in the sky. A very unique and interesting display of this kind of activity or technology is when you see a light line of a trail, but above it, there's a shadow trail matching almost completely with it, a little bit behind it, though, as they traverse the sky rapidly, silently. What is that? So, it's cool that you're here and that you're playing dumb about the chem trails, but that's one of the things I like about being a 7. There's 1 7 per eon, meaning the age of a universe, and I live with killers. So, it's nice to have a discussion with someone about anything beyond the minutia of ignorance. Because, again, those trails, they take on a life of their own. You'll see a big fat one get sprayed up there. You can almost hear, the thickness of the heavy metals in it. I'm that sensitive. I'm not just an empath. I'm just magnetically sensitive. And it just sits there for an hour or two, and then all of a sudden it begins to unveil like a scroll. They look like scrolls. They literally look like ancient scroll parchments on papyrus or whatever being rolled open. You'll see something that, initially when it was applied might have been, you figure one of those big chemtrails is probably as thick and as wide as a football field, probably lengthwise, let's say give or take. But over the course of an hour or two, it all of a sudden has spread miles and yet maintained its original direction. It'll unfurl on a particular part of the sky, and next thing you know, there's any number of phenomena that are occurring. So again, there's the old saying, ignorance is bliss. And I often joke that if I could go back to having my head in the sand, if I had never, started looking up more, if I'd not paid attention during Star Wars when I saw 2 suns, did I need something to relate to through all these years with science fiction and reading books by Isaac Asimov and then getting interested in so many of the strange magnetic shifts that I felt in myself? As if the inner core of every planet in the solar system hasn't been in some way affected by something that is in maybe more of our local sphere or realm than has been maybe ever before and recorded in the history of our planet, either recorded or prehistory. Whatever it is, I've felt these shifts way before I believed in any of it. I started noticing the sky change at around the same time that the Schumann resonance began to act in peculiar ways, and so many other things. And here I am in Ohio, where there are now numerous fireballs or meteors that have gone through the atmosphere. So whatever the case may be, all of these things that could be called conspiratorial now are making front page national and international news. People's curiosity is piqued. Yeah. Hi, Ruby. Hi, Magnus. Skin. And my Debs. Max, I live near Copper Hill, Tennessee, and the mines would burn at night, and black clouds that stunk came 12 miles. Well, let me keep reading my notes, because I just know that I gotta. Well, yeah, it's early. It's only 10 o'clock, 7. Just wait till I tell you about what's going on over there right now in the Middle East. It's incredible. This comes from Chris Hedges' channel. Chris Hedges at Princeton, and this took place, I believe, last night. or the night before. Chris Hedges speaking live at Princeton. There are now 6 million people homeless in the combined Lebanese, Gazan, and Iranian conflicts right now. 6 million people. For 4 decades, Benjamin Netanyahu has been encouraging America to go to war with Iran, but of all people, of all organizations who resisted that kind of poor decision making, was the Pentagon, because they didn't see Iran as any kind of a direct threat to America or our allies or our interests, nor did they think it would be a good idea for the West to try to engage in a conflict with Iran, but they didn't see any reason to. Yeah, March 25th, 2026 is when Chris Hedges gave this speech at Princeton. There are families from Gaza who live in Egypt now, and they're making a documentary about surviving what the genocide in Gaza right now. But it's not just, but this has just been an ongoing flood of decades of Benjamin Netanyahu, and this incredible push to destabilize the Middle East more and more and more. It's called ascendant fascism. Yes, southern Lebanon, Iran, Gaza, and it's all being waged in technological barbarism in terms of the kind of weaponry, hands off, and the strong have no rules. Saturation bombing in Lebanon, and our psychopathic rulers who are doing this. I don't mind calling them psychopaths. I mean, if anybody needs an evidence that the veil is shifting now, the veil is tearing between what you know, you can call a realm or a source of unrest and just a toxic kind of energy being introduced, being encouraged into our world right now. And it siphons the emotional and empathic and psychic condition of people. And I don't know what to do as an American whose tax-paying dollars are helping finance this, except for start looking into it more and more instead of burying my head in the sand, you know. Because these people are psychopaths. I mean, they've already destabilized the Middle East, but now they're coming back with a vengeance. And this is like real life happening, folks. The ethnocentric Judeo-Christian Western world bringing this kind of they're doing it with impunity. The International Court of Justice can't do anything about it. And Lucy Williamson from the BBC is stating, very matter-of-factly, that Gaza is the blueprint, is the model for what's going to be done to other countries in the Middle East, and it won't stop there. This kind of subterfuge of information and the manipulation of people's hearts, and I guess more importantly, our pocketbooks. To take me, someone who's been fully aware of, like, let's say the Panama Canal or the Suez Canal, but, and as a little NEMESIS NIBIRU researcher, and knowing that I stay up on my geopolitical, socioeconomic ditters, a little bit, I should know about the Strait of Hormuz. Makes it sound like it's the bloodline of all oil and natural gas, and it's not. So, and here we are halfway across the world, and I'm saying that, jokingly, but not necessarily so, with what I can't help in the back of my mind that young American anonymous soldier said, which is watch the skies and watch the water. What does he mean? The oceans? Yeah. Now, Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and Trump's real estate slash golf buddy, Steve Witkoff, are both helping call the shots now on the decisions being made. On behalf of American interests, and no, I can't even say that. No, I mean, I tiptoe around these bigger geopolitical topics wisely, but no longer can I say that the will of America is in any way slightly being guided by Americans at all. And that's a sad day. Donald's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. I'd like to slap the shit out of that privileged little mamelon. And his real estate buddy, Steve Witkoff. I mean, I just want to bitch slap all of real estate done in the first place because of gentrification and how they're all raising the rent so much and stuff these days. Though I will say, ladies and gentlemen, start praying, that after I get my car here shortly, that I get a little Nibi crib. And there's just going to be pictures of Einstein, Stephen Hawking, and Carl Sagan, and E.T., and Elliot, and Wolverine. Every wall, there won't be a bit of wall, and everything will be Asian. I'll get it all from Temu. Just Chinese, no chairs. Everything just sit on, and no shoes in the place. Everything's gonna glow in the dark. It's gonna be, and stars all on the ceiling and the walls. Big Nibiru pictures, and Sigourney Weaver in the bathroom. Iron Man, yes, and Iron Man pictures. Mostly Wolverine though. Uncle Skin, I love your videos. Marlo, so where's the little troll person that was talking about this guy? Notice how boring. I forgot what you were talking about and everything. I mean, Jared Kushner. My whole outlook on bullies, to being an empath, to politics, after what I've heard over the last 12 hours, well, 24 hours, it's laughable. This is a lobbyist country, a Zionist lobbyist country, and where there's 70% Zionist ethnic cleansing ass, super Judeo-Christian ethnocentricity popping off, ego and pride and dishonesty to manipulate all the American people, all of our taxes that are gathered to to wreak this kind of bloodshed in the world. To see the little fake ass prayer that all those fundamentalist Christian Zionist supporters all did over in that prayer, which all I heard was a prayer wrapped in a prayer for war. I mean, I don't know if it's the prime minister. Wait, who it is? The ambassador. Sorry, the French ambassador to Lebanon or Iran or Syria. I'm not sure because I'm still wrapping my mind around who chooses. But one of the ambassadors is like, well, we were brought into this. All the Middle Eastern leaders all want to say that they're brought into. They were forced into these conflicts. Again, we can just go back to Zionist Israel. I'm done. I'm a small channel. The algorithm hates me. I get it. But I mean, you got people like Jared Kushner, like he can relate to what real Americans, or the real estate Steve Witkoff, the golf buddy. I mean, who are these people? How do they have the right to? While you have the man Joseph Kent, who was the director of National Center of Counter, the director of the National Center of Counterterrorism, he resigned over this proxy war. I mean, the Matrix stuff it becomes more diluted for people. We can see through it now, but the real mechanisms of a simulated Earth or timeline, I can't help but being inexorably, if not slightly sickeningly or unnervingly, drawn into it more and more. Y'all might turn me into a flat earther. I just don't know anymore. All I know is that them planes are changing their angle of their flight every 30 miles. I mean, I'm no aviation expert, but them sons of bitches, the lines change. But that's because I got the eyes of a chipmunk and the ears of a hawk. I notice shit like that. That's the trick, Suspicious. We need to ask Repeat. Hi, Uncle Skin, one of the best Skywatchers out here. Maybe we should ask Palm Beach Pete. I saw that guy. Discord. I'm not really arguing. Yeah, Discord. It means. We don't need to. Yeah, calm down. Yeah, I'm interacting with you so we can bounce ideas off of one another. Yeah, good. I totally agree. Airplanes gain altitude while they travel. It's called. Oh, cool. Thanks. Yeah, cool. So it could be flat. No, I'm serious. I'm curious about all this kind of stuff, people. I really am. I mean, again, I'm no, aeronautics specialist, but I was on the bus looking due west the whole ride home from downtown to Mount Healthy. So I had a good half hour to sit there, and every couple of minutes I look out and that plane is still going. And I'm just like, get it. And that chemtrail, it didn't start at that bus. And the plane must have been, another 100 miles gone, and I could still see it. It was incredible what they're doing. That's all I'm saying. And I've got a monster, 2 up in the fridge, lunch for tomorrow, and Bob's your uncle. That's part of what us empaths are going through right now, is just to realize that, people will say, do you like something, or is this good for you? I just tend to say these days, I think that this situation is above my likes or dislikes, if you understand me. That's some Sam Gamgee shit right there. It really is. Joseph Kent. The director of the National Center of Counter, the director of the National Center of Counterterrorism quit over this, because he just said it. Israel right now is counting on America's lobbyists. That is spooky. I mean, I literally hear some spooky ass piano from like the Dark Tower or some kind of spooky Illuminati fucking Bohemian Grave sounding shit. I do, because I hear spooky shit like that. I do. You guys know that I'm like that. I got the paws of a ferret and the wings of a turtle dove. I got nostrils like Wolverine. No, I hear some spooky ass Illuminati music playing. That is fucked up. And they using the Holocaust, to lift themselves up, while there have been countless Holocausts in the world, and there's one occurring right now on a threefold front, and others that are occurring throughout the world that the media ignores. Just, wow, hold on a second. I gotta get that spooky music out of my ear. My notes are gonna show you why. Because what we're seeing now is a lot of it leads to food. I mean, let's say that the Straits of Hormuz were, truly a choke point for resources. I could understand that. If it was the Suez Canal or the Panama Canal, I could understand. But I just see through I'm trying not to cuss. I just see through the bullshit. Sorry, I know. It's been a while since I've done this. The Straits of Hormuz, my ass. There's plenty of oil all over the world. The U.S. has more oil reserves than the kingdom come. And Egypt is having to shut down their entertainment and restaurant district. Something doesn't add up. Distractions upon distractions inside of distractions inside of distractions. And what distracts the mob more than blood, free bread, now in the contemporary age, balls bouncing around, ball games everywhere, just ball games. It's a morbid thought, but I can't help it. I think about a post-apocalyptic world, and you think about what would survive, nuclear annihilation or a comet. What would really survive something really bad? And I figured, well, in all likelihood, caricatures of Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, Shaquille O'Neal, Shrek, memorabilia, and some some future new, generation of humanity springs forth, and they have people digging and archaeologists to find out, who the gods of the unknown days were, and they'll think it was a guy flying through the sky with a ball that's the planet Earth, and and that the devil is Shrek, and it'll all sort of resurface again in some strange macabre way like that. But I just think about this world right now, and how the veil again is thinning, and how terror is being unleashed. For Joseph Kent to have to resign, for the Pentagon even to have argued against attacking Iran, and yet for the current administration, along with the help of Jared Kushner, who looks like he hasn't done a day of hard work in his life, or the real estate mogul Steve Witkoff, who seems like he would have no problem raising the rent every year on any number of us for no reason at all, but just to keep up with the inflationary nature of the economy, right? You have got me stuck on a $2 bill. You really do. It's subterfuge. Iraq, Syria, Libya, and Lebanon. And if you can break these places enough, no matter what their regimes or presidents or authorities are, they're more stable and people are safer than with 6 million homeless people, refugees, victims, shell-shocked, wandering around, on top of having a dozen different religions and ethnic groups that are all at least stabilized to a degree, that are all of a sudden going to be relegated to the Stone Age. Marco Rubio claims that there was a preemptive strike, by the way, from Israel, in terms of when real conflict began. But there was one of the first bombs launched by America. Well, actually, let me just say, was it? Yeah, it was an American bomb. Yeah, landed on a school. I think 2 schools right next to a target that had been, chosen in advance, and I guess the intel on the target wasn't updated. They didn't know there was a school with like 160 something young schoolgirls. And to think that these people, this is why, I might live with some people, but the level of depravity in terms of the people who run this world, to me, is astounding. I don't judge kids so much anymore for playing video games, killing a bunch of make-believe bad guys and zombies and space aliens and stuff, because the power players of this world, they do play games. They just don't use video games. They use countries. Crimes against humanity. I was able to, because I don't remote view. Remember, I don't. These channels, I remote viewed 3i Atlas, and there's 5 million reptilian aliens. I don't remote view. I just have to be careful, or else I'll remote view my ass off. And occasionally I'm tempted. I don't know why, to let my mind slip into, the $500 leather Italian shoes of some of these super elite people that run the world and call the shots. And they literally get a rush out of pitting economy against economy. And it's not necessarily just to conquer other moguls and other, you know, pirates of the real people of the world, because that's part of what came out of the pirate age, folks, is who runs things. But it's not just about toppling, you know, a banking system. It's about watching the people down to the countryside and the smallest village or hamlet, or, you know, in cities like Detroit or other towns, you know, or all the layoffs that are happening now. It's the same kind of thing, and the misery of the common man and his family and his dependents, the common woman, the common youth. That seems to be an ongoing field of battle, does it not? And that is the spiritual warfare. I realize, because kids are empaths. Women tend more towards empathy, even though they themselves must be guarded these days as anybody else. But to abandon one's own empathy, you know, therein truly lies our strength, I believe, is to refuse to be brought down to anybody's level around us who recognizes our empathy, therefore our caring, even to the point of abandoning the thought of one's own safety for that of others. That's what it means to be an empath. Of course, you're standing there's no threat, nothing's wrong, but you empathize that you will do your best to make sure that there's no threat and that nothing is wrong, at least coming from you. And yet, it's kind of, it reminds one of why the Center for Disease Control here in America has a zombie apocalypse contingency plan, and they do. Because people do seem to be almost like you can read it. They can read you as an empath. It's obvious. But they're dark. And they just can't quite figure out how to get you to come down to their level. There's an old saying called, water seeks its own level. Subterfuge. So, along with, what is it, 10 million gallons of oil a day, I think now, it has not been able to reach the market. That's it. And yet it's brought Egypt to its knees and certain Asian countries to its knees. I just think that sounds real sketchy. And what else is all of a sudden a byproduct of this? Fertilizer. And I didn't do all the science, you know, but it just turns out that a lot of fertilizer does come from this region of the world as well, from Iran. And just the acquisition and transportation of fertilizer, including in the Straits of Hormuz, has put the price in jeopardy. So the global market all of a sudden right now is supposed to be in an uproar. And that'll make a bunch of conspiracy theorists, you know, wet the bed and freak out, but nobody does so much anymore. You know, I mean, you're right to question everything, by the way, chemtrail person. Because the global economy isn't going anywhere, you know, and it's just a flash in the pan to a degree. The stock market will go nuts for a little bit. But the problem nonetheless exists for farmers now, who are paying more for fertilizer and diesel in an already strapped economy, with the weather having been like it's been, the unpredictable nature now of growing crops or livestock, even here in the United States of America or anywhere else in the world for that matter. The lack of certainty, you know, the tremendous amount of man hours, fertilizer, and supplies that need to be provided beforehand, before, you know, even the first seeds are planted for the crop. And fertilizer all of a sudden is noticeably more expensive. One might not think that should make a difference. You know, let's say a 2% increase in the price. But number one, that's a harbinger of things to come. And number two, if you're, you know, trying to gauge your crop and your expense for fertilizer alone for a year, and it's $12,000, and all of a sudden, overnight, your bill has increased for your fertilizer for the year coming up that you have to have, the price went from $12,000 to $12,250. That might not seem to a lot. That might not seem like a lot, but to somebody who's budgeted down to the penny to keep their farm going, that's a lot of money. And the blackouts, and the fact that we've been warned about blackouts, and you guys know me, I don't do a lot of, what's it called, clickbait or fear porn. You know, there've always been fireballs and meteors. It just seems that there's been an interesting increase in them. And skeptics and people wisely, by the way, because again, I mean, I troll trolls for fun. If they get, you know, a big head and engage, I always hope it ends up in laughter. But there is an awareness that with the increase and with the advent and increase in social media, of course, there's more people posting stuff, there's more people videotaping things. It's just that now there's an acceptance of it that didn't exist 10 years ago. You were out in the middle of a parking lot, in the grocery store, the library, the zoo, and you stopped and did that, you know, you were looked at a little bit strange. I was accosted a few times by police because I was in big public areas and they didn't know that I was filming the sky. I got chased down by 5 cops once. Well, 2 local cops, 2 state troopers, and a park ranger. Just videotaping sunset. Hi, free thinker. So, you know, if you put the increase in fertilizer and gas, and you think about the ever increased pressure on farmers, and then you think of the warning of blackouts that are coming once the heat of summer hits and everybody's got their AC going, and the data centers, you have to couple that in now too. You know, if not this year, then certainly by next year, but probably this year, because the data centers are going up faster than cell phone towers. It almost seems like dozens of them, and the infrastructure in terms of the power grid is already, wearing old and weathered. So there's just this slow, steady increase towards, you know, what I'm calling the crossroads. I've been talking about that for about the last month or two. There's nothing too fear-mongering about saying crossroads. There's a tremendous crossroads happening right now. I mean, Israel is trying to get to the point where they directly control the entire Middle East. And again, here we're going on 3-4 decades of solar power, hydroelectric, wind turbines, and energy prices keep going up. And that's because there's about to be a voracious appetite for it in the data centers. There really is, including its appetite not just for electricity, but for water. Clean, fresh water, not salt water. And we're talking 5 million gallons a day per data center. Think about that. There's going to be a real contest for resources as yet another pressure point is put on the global food industry, farming. Because it's year after year now that we hear of something else that's affecting the ability and the capacity and the affordability to grow food in America, while farmland and countryside is being bought up for data centers, which means that the land will be forever reclaimable for nature. I mean, I'm no geologist, chemist, or biologist, but I am a dirt dog. I'm a landscaper. Been out there for 35 years getting it. Now I'm on the river getting it with steel, which is putting a whooping on me. I figure I'll get used to it. I got used to the dirt. Steel's only a little bit harder. A little bit. But the data centers, they come in and they mow down everything. Every blade of grass, every tree, every bush. They dig up every burrow, every nest, every tunnel. Everything is gone. Millions of gallons of concrete are poured. Thousands of pallets of bricks are laid. A huge facility, a huge campus is birthed, bereft of any living thing. The water is used to supercool all of the machinery, of course. And I didn't know this, but silicon is very flammable. And I also insist that there's the supercooling of other elements going on, like keeping something dormant, like the liquid intelligence, the black slime that's involved in AI. No, and nobody's talking about that. Not even that little smart dude from Germany. And yet, what do I keep seeing on the internet? Black goo, black slime, like technologies that they're developing of a device that can move and morph and this is all being birthed by AI. I've been a bit more domestic recently. I've been a bit more down to earth, a bit more Terran. I haven't gone live in over a week because I'm just in the grind. And I'm noticing the sky and the simplicity of being a sky watcher. And then I noticed I was drained. I'm coming home drained every day, every night. And I thought, well, damn, am I ignoring global conflict? Am I recognizing too much of very close conflict? What is it about? And I had to just remember, you're an empath. And to be an empath is going to require a resilience right now that hopefully our life has trained us to be able to find, because it's an organic kind of resilience I'm talking about. It's a natural strength that somehow we're going to have to produce for ourselves, or we're going to be bled dry emotionally by this world right now. Energy vampires. Yep. Good to see you, Suspicious. Is it okay for men to wear wigs without being emasculated? Well, most of us here are from the 60s and 70s. Cool, you can dress any way you want. Wear a wig, do the Wiedersehen. If you don't look good, we don't look good. You can do anything you want here. You can be anybody you want. You don't have to be religious or spiritual or any color or any creed. People from all over the world watch this channel. It's all about your frequency. I mean, this world shuns nuance and um, and perplexity, and we're people of nuance, and we can be quite perplexing. We're very perplexed. Human relationships that are under stress, or that are cancerous. That's not our MO, and it doesn't have to be our testimony anymore. And those are the kind of people that are going to be drawn to an empath like a moth to flame. And we can't lash out. We might want to, but with the correct, thought of self-preservation, it's wise it's not. And we're just learning, to be able to see that that it would behoove us to continue to, foster care and nurture and nature relationships like we have with each other and other classy folks, because we're going to need that just to recharge our own batteries. You know what I'm saying? Northeast Nevada and Wadden. So let me get into the rest of my notes. We're just going to have to strengthen ourselves. I didn't know that it would happen like this, but it makes complete and perfect sense. I thought the Schumann resonance or the space-time continuum or both pop earlier like rubber bands. So much of what's happening right now, by the way, is just rubber bands in time, in space, in location. Rubber bands are very flexible and pliable. It's kind of how time travel is done. Or craft. I've seen one do it. It grabbed the space-time in front of it where it wanted to go, about 20 miles, and it grabbed the space-time back to it, and it just slingshotted itself. That's all it did. It used the elasticity of space-time itself to transport itself to a space and time in front of itself that it wanted to go to. There was no transfer of energy in any way. It didn't even travel to that space. It dragged it back to itself and was already there in the first place. Mr. Island Man and that massive distraction, because again, I was tempted to either title this video something about thirsty revenge, savagery abroad and savagery at home. Because that is really what's happening. There's sublime energies right now vying for power in the spiritual realms like I've never felt it before. I mean, it's been years since I felt it like this. It's been 2.5, 3 years. I don't even get time sick anymore. I'm just used to the roller coaster waves. When paradoxes roll through the space-time continuum because of something in the future, I don't know. You've seen 13 Monkeys. Distractions inside of distractions. Because, the island and the list, I realized, was not just about one man. People on that list had knowledge of everything from that fateful day in Texas by the school repository to the moon to things that are happening right now all over the world. And it's indicative of the fact that the elite are becoming sloppy. They're so sure of themselves that they're just becoming that sloppy. And what a better time for them to do, for the real elite, the ones who are serious, and believe me, they're deadly serious, to do a culling, a thinning of the ranks, a trimming of the verge, as it were, a thinning of the ranks, a purge, which is why some super celebrities are being thrown under the bus, and there's more distractions there. But to realize that there's a lot of behind the scenes connections and wisdom and knowledge, and that not one of these people has been brought to justice. Epstein was an investor and, so I guess, a proponent for the Lifeboat Foundation. I didn't know this. I saw this on TikTok. Lifeboat Foundation and Teachers in Space. And these are grants going to foundations or these organizations, these institutions that are building underground cities and that are encouraging teachers to get ready for off-world teachers in space. And this is real talk. Donald Barr, who I guess was a friend of his, wrote a book about taking people into space. And his son was the person who, who has some involvement in the legal proceedings in regards to the files and this. But I mean, these people are all in bed together, literally, with baby oil and not, depending, like all holding on to secrets about classified information, UFOs, or if Care Bears are real or not. And they're all just soireeing and sashaying around sushi clubs, and arcades. And it's starting to kind of add up to the fact that the people in charge of this world really are psychopaths. They really are. They're also involved with wireless money accounts, building underground underground cities, sending teachers into space, and they also have a homeless youth organization in Vancouver. It's called Pineslander or something like that in Wisconsin, where they take homeless kids off the streets. And there's some shady shit that has to do with that as well. And Werner von Braun on his tombstone, and you know who he was. He was the German rocket scientist who was brought over in Project Paperclip. He worked on the V2 rocket for the Nazis during World War II, and he was brought over here. He's one of the founding members, along with Jack Parson of NASA. And when he died, he had Psalm, I think, 19:1, in reference to the firmament showing the hand of God. The firmament. What is up is down, and what is down is up. And what the news and the cameras and all the lights are all about are just as important, but I don't think are exactly at the center of everything going on. I think there's more going on in the unseen, possibly including, and maybe most importantly, empaths and people like you. I don't know. It wasn't my intent of doing this video tonight. It's just that once I began doing it, knowing that I was going to dedicate some time of the video into how shockingly painful it is to be an empath right now, although it's tremendously exhilarating and fulfilling in a way. I had no idea. Hi, Wanipa. Scott. Hi, Michelle Roos. Michelle Roos, hey. Nah, man, I've been feeling these tremendous waves like I haven't felt in years. have I been able to correlate the timing with what I think the particle colliders, all 30,000 plus of them, are doing? I would never, ever be so pretentious or full of shit as to say I do that any more than I purposefully remote view. Seems like I get remote viewed. Something from the astral plane lets me go there, but I don't go and squeeze my little stuffed Care Bear teddy bear before bed. And I mean, I don't have it stuffed Care Bear. I mean, I would if I could. I'd get a stuffed Care Bear. It'd have to be blue though. I mean, just farmers. How long are they going to be able to just squeeze farmers and buy up country land? And how are they going to deal with all this water that's about to be so hot? Oh, the video just died a little bit. No, it's about to get so hot. Yeah, blue collar workers have been devalued, and now they're going to be on the rise a little bit, and I just think that's a real positive sign, to people who just stick in the grind, and are proof that while there's men and women out there who don't mind getting their hands dirty, there's plenty of good things to do. And talk about people who will appreciate you and who will reward and award your empathy. It's when your deeds speak louder than your words. The energy grid. I can't help but just remembering the times over the last 10 years. Well, 15, 20 years, when it's become pretty clear how, to me, very clear how much I do not like not having lights, and when the energy goes out, it is really inconvenient to me because I like white noise. And I like having lights at night to see. And it'd be different if I had, a flashlight or something. But I just think that things like the bare necessities these days are to me, it's just shockingly clear how lucky I am. And that's why I've been craving talking. Once I realized it today, talking about it with a few people. The price that people are paying as empaths right now. It in a way is its own holocaust. Because if you're an empath, you are a target. Hopefully moving. I mean, the transfer of technologies too. So the distraction of distractions. A savage world. And seeing how there's a continued repetition of fires. One was in Ohio. It's incredible how much really strange, shady shit happens in my home state of Ohio, because people are starting to just notice, at least statewide. I don't know about citywide, but a glass factory in Morin, Ohio, an oil refinery in Texas. And I mean, again, for me, as exhausted as I've been, much of a target as I've been, it's been good to know that I have yet another reason to start the School of the Empath, another reason to insist upon, for my own well-being, that I can survive the convergence negative, which I think is kind of a programming. It's like the architect, typing in the next evil coding, because I do feel like we're in a simulation. I have no proof. Aside from the actual physical sensations I get when I feel like the space-time continuum has rippled. And that's not so much in reference to the simulation as it has to do with the manipulation of the frequencies and just the microwave energies that are being floated around, mainly through heavy metals. If they're being applied in the sky, then of course I've ingested them. There's proof in all kinds of medical examinations, including sweating on a clear day, or if you spend a couple of days, let's say somewhere in an environment where you're higher up in elevation than the clouds, whatever the case may be, go to the gym and work out, and you'll sweat a certain amount of molecules of, let's say, aluminum. But if there's a day where there's the sky application going amok like it is now, and you go and do the same workout and sweat the same amount, under a microscope it'll be 100 times more apparent in your bloodstream. You ain't gonna take my word for it. This is no joke we're living in. And part of the whole design of all those heavy metals, boron, aluminum, what is it, strontium, among many other things, is to control us psychically, energetically. You think not? You think if there's not a lot of heavy metals, I know that I can feel, like, for instance, the polarity. It's usually between 4 and 6 a.m. for some reason. In the springtime, it'll be, before sunrise. I'll, at 4 or 6, especially if the weather is changing out of nowhere, I'll feel when they use the scalar waves in the sky. I'll feel them here at ground level. I mean, that HARP technology, all of that scalar manipulation of the sky, including that which is shot up into the ionosphere, which is electricity, shot up into the upper electric part of the shield of the Earth. I feel those fluctuations just in the barometric pressure alone, much less the heavy metals in my body. I feel when the sky gets manipulated. It feels like every molecule in my body does an about face. It's literally that obvious. It's a 180-degree shift. You can't make that kind of shit up. You just can't. When time shifts, that's different. I feel like a balloon turned inside out. Yeah, with peanut butter smeared on the inside of it and jelly on the inside, and then it's twisted into, it's, yeah, see, it's an oxymoron. Aluminum, barium, strontium are soft metals, not heavy metals. I don't know which they are. I'm about to go outside. I'm about to wrap it up, honestly. Talk about heavy metals. Yeah, society is shifting, and we're all being beta tested right now. And why did I feel it was important to do this video tonight? Shucks. For all of us who can forget, because part of being an empath is not needing to remember you're an empath. We get comfortable. We like being nice. It feels good. We don't count the days that we're nice. And we can forget that we will invariably become a target. And Our ops just will be the least expected person. Be as nice as you want to somebody. You know, I'm just insisting for myself that I be I'll trust my instincts and not stand so close to a hater, because they'll hit you with something and say that you got in the way of the 2x4. Guard yourselves, folks. Let me pray. Heavenly Father, Almighty Composer, you know, I come to you in the name of your Son, who I know as Jesus, as Yeshua Mashiach, my Lord and Savior, and I just pray protection over all of us, including our voice and our demeanor and our effect. I pray that kindness come out of us, that there be no last resort for anything else. I pray that you protect us enough to where all we need is our kindness, and then in the face of opposition, that little feather duster will be sufficient to turn away any evil. I thank you for letting us recognize that we're more powerful than we can even imagine. Soon come. If not in this life, then definitely the next, which from what I understand is even better than this one is. It's the captain, y'all. Be at peace and be content. I'll call you Max. Nah, I love you guys so much. I really do. And to that one person, you know, it was cool. You know, I got no reason to be, you know, blowing smoke. There's something tremendous going on with our sky. They can say that they're trying to cool the sun down. All it does is make it infinitely hotter and muggier. I don't know. It's the Captain, y'all. See you soon.